You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
Welcome back to Where You Live. 651-289-4488 is the number that'll get you on the show. That's 651-289-4488. We're talking about a condominium association, a loft in Seattle called the Mosler Lofts that had huge water damage not too long ago here. And we're talking about what happens when there is a huge claim affecting more than just one homeowner in an association. Has that happened to you? Do you have a story you'd like to share? You can give us a call, 651-289-4488. I'm broadcasting live from the Extreme Exteriors mobile broadcasting unit powered by Skype, and Tony's broadcasting live from the Concierge Landscape Studios in Eagan. Tony, we were just talking at the break about homeowners worrying about whether they're going to be paying more in dues or if their property values are going down. And we said property values going down really isn't going to be an issue necessarily on one claim, but their association dues going up as a result of having to pay more in insurance. That's a very real possibility, isn't it?
Well, sure it is, and it's part of the thing. It's part of the promise you make when you purchase a home in a condominium association is that you're going to share the costs for the community. So if the cost of insurance goes up, that's going to be shared by the entire community.
Yeah. And, we were talking a little bit about the HO6 policy, and you were going on with how important that is. That's a separate policy that the individual unit owner has.
Yeah.
The purpose of that is to cover, you mentioned, their personal property and effects that they own inside the unit.
Mm-hmm. And fixtures
what
sometimes.
Were the other items?
Fixtures of the condo unit. I want to mention this because landlords will often ask me, I'm going to rent out my condo or my townhouse. The homeowners association carries a master policy, and my renter is going to get renter's insurance to cover their belongings. So why do I need to continue to carry an insurance policy? And the answer to that is there is no scenario in which you do not have to have insurance if you own real estate. Would you agree with that, Gene?
Oh, yeah. Well, unless you want to be self-insured and you can say, I can take out of my pocket to cover the cost of anything that happens, I guess then you would not need insurance.
Yeah, and so far I've not worked with anyone who wanted that option to be self-insured. The thing is, if your renter caused problem in your unit, their insurance might cover something, but you can bet the homeowners association is going to assess you with their deductible, don't you think?
Oh, yes.
So you need to have insurance.
You bring up a great point, and that is the unit owner who's renting out their unit. The renter's got renter's insurance. That's just covering their personal property. Mm-hmm. The HOA is still going to cover most of the damage with the master policy, but there's this middle ground that still needs to be covered, and so the individual unit owner still needs insurance,
right,
and still needs an HO6 for a couple of other items. One of the other key items is the deductible. In this case, this story talked about a $10,000 deductible. And what that means then is if the claim is $900,000, $890,000 is going to be paid by the insurance company. The first $10,000 is not. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, as a unit owner, have an HO6 policy and that gets assigned to you, you're going to have to come up with a $10,000 bill to cover those expenses.
I want to mention, too, that as a landlord, you're not getting a policy called an HO6 policy. You need to make sure you let your agent know that you no longer live in the unit, that you are renting out the unit, and there's some other coverage, some other policy you're going to get. Having said that,
it's another modified type of policy, but it still covers the deductible, and it covers the items that the unit owner still owns because they still own the appliances
There you go.
in the unit.
That's
and,
right.
if that they're damaged, they need to be replaced, and that type of thing.
That's right.
The other thing that an HO6 policy will do, or renter's insurance, if you are in a unit and becomes uninhabitable, is that it will also provide the ability for you to live somewhere else temporarily until things get repaired.
Yeah, I would make sure that your renter's insurance policy covers that. People are not very careful about their renter's insurance policies. They call their insurance agent. They say, I need a renter's insurance policy. Boom, they get one. It's not very expensive, which is a good thing. But you need to ask some questions like, what happens if my unit is uninhabitable?
Yeah.
Where am I going to live, and what will you pay for?
Yeah, you make a good point. Most people tend to think about just getting the bare bones minimum cost policy that they can, so they say they've got coverage, but that really doesn't do it, especially when for only really a few dollars more a year, they could have these few other things added on and have a lot more peace of mind.
That's right. The owner's insurance is not going to cover the renter's housing. It's just not going to do that. So the renter has to take care of that.
Yes, and that's something you can ask for with your insurance company, and you should, whether you're a renter or a homeowner. You should make sure that you have that coverage. The other thing that came to my mind here about this topic and this news article here before we leave it is a quote by one of the owners. Someone had asked them, how long has everything been in a state of disrepair? And they said, it's been about 3.5 weeks now. We're just living out of boxes. And one of the things that I think that a lot of people don't realize is how long will it take from start to finish for a insurance claim to be wrapped up. And I think people sometimes are surprised to learn that it takes a lot longer than they probably think.
Yeah, it takes longer than you expect. It's like any remodeling or reconstruction project. Don't they say the rule of thumb is you should plan on it taking at least twice as long as you think it's going to take, and cost 4 times as much as you think it's going to cost? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, let's take a moment maybe to walk through that for our listeners here too with the insurance policy. Sure. How long does it take? Well, let's say something today happens where there is a massive flood in a condo unit, condo association here in Minneapolis, and property managers, Johnny on the spot, calls the insurance company and initiates a claim, and that's today, Sunday, July 10th. It is not uncommon for the insurance company to not. They will. May not call that property manager back until Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday of next week.
Yeah.
And they will be considered handling everything very expeditiously. And so it can be anywhere between 24 to 72 hours before a claims adjuster is assigned and notified and calls to initiate this claim. Hopefully it's quicker than the 72 hours, but I've seen it take that long.
And you know what? It can take longer if this is some kind of large event like a storm, like a tornado coming through North Minneapolis. It takes insurance companies much longer to get their adjusters out there because they're getting so many hundreds of calls.
Great point. This type of insurance claim, which is just a single disaster, is different than when it's a pending
That's right.
Area disaster that covers tens and 20s of buildings,
Sure.
and people have damage to their homes. So yes, you're right. That could take even longer. But after things are initiated and that contact is made, we're talking about anywhere between 1 to 3 days from when this took place. Now the person will schedule and come, and they could come out the next day after that, or it could be sometime within about a week. So now here you are, 7 to 10 days out, and it could very easily be that's the first time that the adjuster is coming out to take a look at this damage. And now the adjuster goes ahead and puts together the scope of the claim, is going to try to walk everything to try and determine everything that is damaged. And then as the adjuster leaves, they're going to say very quickly, you know what, I'll get back with you with this claim very quickly. And what they mean by that is that it's going to take probably another week to 2 weeks, maybe even a month before they sometimes get that scope all put together. The bigger it is, the longer it's going to take.
Yeah, good.
And so now we're talking about possibly being out, somewhere between 3 to 5 weeks. And now we have back from the insurance company what we think what the scope of the damage is. And now a contractor can be found to try and work in taking care of this damage. And now you've got the time that it's going to take for that contractor to do it. You can see where a claim like this could very easily take 3 to 6, 9 months before things are being completed.
Before it's done. I agree. I do want to point out, however, though, that you can take action and have work done to prevent further damage or to that will prevent health or safety risks to the inhabitants.
Yeah, you can. Oh, yes, you can always take care of those extra things that, if not to act, would cause further damage to property or would be a hazard to someone's health.
And in my experience, I'd strongly encourage you to hire a contractor who has lots of experience handling insurance claims.
Mm-hmm. And if you have a management company that is handling your property, they've probably been to this rodeo once or twice before. It can really help in being an advocate to help in getting things pushed through as well.
Yep.
Well, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about this idea of homeowner associations that are making money with business ideas, creating thousands of dollars in monthly income. Is this a great idea? Is this something for your association? We'll talk about that when we come back.